Righty guys, so it's the next day. We put the 460 fuel pump in last night and we're just going to take it for a drive, but as soon as I started the car I noticed that the static fuel pressure was higher than we'd set it, so I think we were aiming for about 43.5 because that's where the injectors are flow tested at. Yeah, with the bigger pump and the fuel pressure reg staying the same, and the pressure's actually a little bit higher, so I'm just going to start the fuel pump using my app and adjust that static fuel pressure. Rightio, so we're into the app. That's my annoying Astra pump running there. We got fuel pressure here is 30.4, but the pump's turned off already. So we'll go back in here. Settings, engine functions, fuel pump. Then we come in here, make the active state low. That's the fuel pump running, and then we go back to the main screen and we've got 45 psi there, so I'm just going to watch that and adjust the pressure. 43.5 there, 43.5, so as you can see that 43.5, that's where we want it. Let's go back into the settings and turn it off. Fuel pump active state high, and that's the pump turned off. It's a benefit of using this app, or just a Rebel full stop. Rightio, so we're just going to give this new fuel pump a test, see if we're still losing fuel pressure. We've got the laptop logging away here. Bit of huffing and spluttering then at higher RPM, not sure what that was about. You can't look at a log. You've got a log there showing how the run went. You can sit at home and look at your lambda and your ignition and whatever, and your knock, and you can go through and you can make a few small changes and then go for another lap. So you don't necessarily need someone sitting on the laptop next to you looking at the data. That's looking a lot better. I don't know if I really showed you these the other day, but these are the plugs that we changed out. It's hard to see in this GoPro, it doesn't focus properly, but yeah, those ones look alright. They look like they're running super rich, or maybe the ignition cutting for the launch control only cuts the first 4 cylinders or something like that, and back ones stay burning, and that's why they look the way they do, or something like that. Anyway, it's just an observation. I'm not a spark plug magician, and these are obviously in for several hundred Ks, so they'll be hard to read properly. Righto guys, so we've been for a couple of drives and we've got some data to go back and review. It's feeling good, like we've been playing with the ignition timing, we walked that up. We've been playing with the fuel. Originally we had that set really rich, so we started to sort of bring that out of the super rich category and just into a normal rich category, I suppose you call it. Still very safe for the fuel tuning. And one thing I notice is not really consistent is I might go for a drive during the day, and then this is after I put the air filter on, so I've got this big pipe here, so I'm sucking in engine bay temps. Yeah, so to go for a drive and it feels a bit flat, but the stats look okay. Boost is less than 9. The ignition in your log isn't always showing what it should be in the table. So I'm sort of thinking with a supercharged engine, the boost control is your ignition timing. So that's probably why my boost isn't consistent, because my timing's not consistent. And then I'm just sort of looking at what might cause the timing to not be correct, and I've gone into the corrections here. I'm recording this so you can have a look. And I've got this air temperature correction table. So if we go back into the graph here, we're just cruising along at speed, and you know, you got almost 70-degree inlet temps there. That's just that cruise. So that's obviously all the hot air circulating around in here. Yeah, so it's the 68, 70 degrees. And if we go to the correction map, if I was to nail it right then at that boost pressure, or anything above 1 psi of boost, it's going to pull timing by 1, and if it gets to 70, it'll be pull timing by 2. So that's probably why I'm seeing, like, I go for a drive later on in the afternoon or early in the morning and it feels better. Timing's more, the boost is more, it obviously will feel better. So there's not necessarily anything I'm doing wrong or anything the car's doing wrong, it's just the software is protecting the engine with the hotter inlet temp. So yeah, so if you look here, there's the example of a run. Yeah, we're starting at 68 degrees and then we punch it, and as we hit boost, that's just a bit of wheel spin, we come up here. So second gear's maxing out and we've got 65 degrees. So by the time we're changing from first to second, we got 8.7 psi boost. The air temp has come down a bit because we've opened up the throttle and we're sucking in fresh air, but it's still above 65, which means it's still going to be pulling 1.5 degrees of timing. And then we go back here, and then for the whole of third gear, the compressor's heating up the air. So we're actually increasing in air temp again. And by the time we back off in third, we're at 67 degrees. So it's still pulling probably 2 degrees of timing there. If I was at the drags and I was still, like, during the day with these same ambient conditions, air temp got as high as 71, so it's definitely into the 2s, starting to pull 3 degrees of timing there, which could be a psi or 2 of boost. So that's interesting. It's cool that sometimes you can go in and find all this stuff out yourself. Like, obviously a tuner wouldn't go, oh, of course that's what it is. But so obviously you have the drags tomorrow night, so I've been thinking, how am I going to get this thing off the line? Obviously I've struggled with that in the past, being NA. Definitely going to struggle with some extra horsepower. You know, do you just try and do it with your foot? It's probably really only first gear and into second, and then I should be fine. But how do you limit that horsepower? Well, you can go in here, there's corrections for that. So like, I've still got my launch control that's activated by a button, but you can go in here and you can do a number of things. If I go into ignition tuning, and then you've got corrections. So what I've done is I've turned on the generic 1 correction, and I've called that torque or boost control. There's 2 conditions that need to be met for this ignition correction to work. One is vehicle speed. There's a number of drop downs you can do, RPM speed, whatever, boost. If vehicle speed is less than 85 kilometers an hour, where did I get 85 from? I went back through some logs of previous runs. I'm sort of shifting between 80 and 83 kilometers an hour from first to second. So I want to be in second gear. I don't want it to be halfway through a shift or come in during the shift to try and protect the gearbox a bit. So after 85 degrees, and as long as the throttle position is greater than 75, the condition will be enabled, and the condition is -3 degrees of ignition timing. At the end of the day, I think that that's something I could probably run all the time. When am I actually going to need to run full boost on street tyres less than 80 kilometers an hour? Probably not, because the wheels are just going to spin. So, I mean, the wheels are going to spin anyway. At the end of the day, 3 degrees might keep it at 7 psi boost instead of 9. So it's still going to have heaps of power there. It's just not as much. So this is something I can play with. Once it's set up, I should be able to go into my app on my phone. So I'm at the drags and I want to pull more timing. I can just go in and just easily change that. I hope. I haven't actually checked that yet. Yeah, but now that it's sort of set up on the laptop, it should be easier to do later on. I'll probably still take my laptop to the drags. Righto guys, it's drag day today. Fortunately, as you can see, the weather is not the best. It's started raining. It's midday now, and I reckon it's gotten colder as the day's gone on. So the cold weather would be good for drag racing, but the rain isn't. Anyway, so it's better to be prepared and assume it's all going to go ahead. So I'm just going to drive my car out so I can stick my street radials on it, and then worst case they can just sit on for 2 weeks until the next Friday night meet. So
that was the fastest pit stop I've ever seen.
Rightio, street radials are on. You might have noticed in that video then I was wearing my UGG boots, and that just reinforces how cold it is. I just haven't taken them off this morning. So got to remember, we are in central Queensland, so it gets like this cold a couple of days a year. Yeah, so hopefully some good drag racing weather tonight if the weather holds out. Fingers crossed.
Righto guys, so we're heading out to Bunarabi Drags tonight. Gone for a few hot laps in the VL since Dad's put the blower on. Far out, this thing's fast now. Almost pull you out of your seat, feels like. So yeah, we're heading out. What's the game plan?
Well, look at this weather. Like, if you look over there, so obviously it's been pretty miserable today, but it's just starting to clear up. Perfect timing. Timing could not get any better. But like I said earlier when I was changing the tyres over, it is so cold, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you said you had your jumper on.
I wore my jumper all day.
Yeah. It is so cold. Yeah, so really interested to know how this thing's going to go with the extra power. Obviously trying to feather it off the line. Yeah, just really excited to see what sort of mile an hour we're getting, and then hopefully not break anything, hopefully drive it home again tonight, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Breaking records, not breaking things.
I like it. Sounds good. Have you looked around?
Are you intimidated?
I'm the only guy here. So this is an all-bike meet this weekend, but Friday night is still a test and tune. Anyone can come, any cars or whatever. So I obviously wanted to come out and test my car, but all the other cars didn't get the Mimo. So as a result, I'm the only car here tonight. So the good news is I'll win every race.
What's your game plan?
No idea. Going to do a little burnout. Try not to nail it off the line. I know that you always think that, and then I go out there and my foot just goes straight to the floor, but I'll try not to do that. Get into second gear. I've got that ignition retard thing set up, so I'll get another 3 degrees of timing over 85 kilometers an hour. But once I'm in second gear, hopefully I can put the foot down. Because I'm the only car, I'm not gonna, it's like the track won't be sort of, warming up with all the other cars going down it. It's only bike, so yeah, no idea. I'll have to see how the track goes.
That's a spinning one now.
Bang, bang, bang. That's weird, eh? I was just going to get the log out to see what was going on. Like,
it sounded a bit spluttery.
Yeah, but the burnout sounded alright.
Yeah, your burnout was pretty good.
So, we're breaking down a fair bit.
door was a bit open, mate.
Oh,
You got a lot of backfire.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I've just noticed it now.
I reckon spark plug gap.
Yeah. So we just ran an 11.59, so fastest time so far, and 126 mile an hour. So that's 10 mile an hour fastest than my previous time. So the mile an hour is up there, which we were hoping for. Definitely got a better top end last time, but yeah, hit the limiter. I think it's around just over 200 kilometers an hour, or obviously 126 mile an hour. Yeah, we'll just keep trying to do a better pass. We'll try and get off the line a bit better this time. Doesn't seem to be popping as much this time. Yeah, it could be all the stopping and starting in pit lane maybe that's fouling the plugs up. The good thing about having this hole in the bonnet is I can see if my belt comes off. Sometimes my engineering genius knows no bounds. So there's some noisy motorbikes doing burnouts. So this is the cool thing about the Haltech logs. I downloaded a log, I sent it via Facebook Messenger to my mate. He's had a look, he's got his computer with him. He's had a bit of a look, had a bit of a fiddle, put a bit less fuel into it at idle, so it might first start, so it might not foul up the plugs as much. And just had a bit of a general tinker and make sure everything sort of looks okay. And then he's sent it back to me, the review, and I'm uploading the review, and then I'm going to go out and race him with the uploaded log. So he could be in another country. That's how cool that is. And someone else could even be dialed in live and looking at it live too. Starting to cough and splutter again. It's not as bad. didn't hook up, but it's not the end of the world. I'll come out again in a couple of weeks. There's an event where I'll be able to race during the day because my work roster lines up for it. So I'll have to do that and get some better times during the day.
Hey Tim! Show some shirt!
Ah. I didn't even get to show anyone today because it was so cold. This is my drag racing shirt. Rightio, so a few issues at the drags. Wasn't completely wasted. We did get some good data. We got some sort of mile an hour figures. 127 I think was the quickest mile an hour. In the right car, that's a possible 10-second pass. We also, with the weight of this car, I'll have to weigh it exactly, but just with the estimates of weight, you can estimate that this car is probably making around 500 horsepower now. So we're at sort of 350, 400. But obviously we've got some issues with fueling. So we're fouling plugs. Since we got back from the strip, we pulled the set out and they looked, where'd they go? So that's the front four are fouled and the back four aren't. So I just threw another set in, and we also gapped them down. So originally, when we first put the blower on, we noticed that they did foul when it idled for ages. So we changed the plugs, we gapped them down, we had a muck around with the tune, and they went out to the drags, and same thing happened. It was fouling when it idled a lot. When you're in the pit lane, you're stopping and starting and stopping and starting, and it sort of, that must have fouled them. And yeah, threw that in, went for a drive, like literally 5 minutes, and come home, and that's fouled already. So we're looking at fuel injectors. So I'm going to rip the fuel injectors out, which I have just done, and take them to get sort of tested at the lower outputs and cleaned or flow tested or whatever. We'll see what they can do. So maybe they got blocked up or whatever, or it could have been my fuel system choked them up when we first primed everything. So so that's them there. So I've got them numbered where they came from. The only other thing we're going to do is try and make this fuel system a circulating fuel system. So the fuel will come in, go through a rail, go to the other rail, and then to the reg and back to the tank. So not at the moment it comes in to the reg, gets pressurized or gets the pressure set, goes into this rail at the front, then goes down here, comes around there and comes there. So this sort of, you're measuring the pressure at the beginning of the rail, not at the end of the rail on a deadhead system. So lots of people do run it that way, but we're going to try and make it a circulating system so all the rails have even pressure, and see if that makes any difference to this fouling issue, because it would be nice to get this all sorted, because in a couple of weeks there's a drag event where I can make it on during the day. If we can get some good runs down then, that could be an opportunity to get into the 10. So pretty keen to get this sorted out before then, but yeah, it's just the ongoing issues. Probably another thing we need to look at is intake temps, because even on that cold night we were getting above 70 degrees, like when it was just sitting there, lots of heat soak. The inlet temps were getting high enough to retard timing by, on the chart it was at least 2 to 3 degrees it was retarding timing by, just because of the higher inlet temp. So to sort that out as well, try and get some cooler air. Obviously if we just had the screen on we could suck air through the bonnet, but that's no good for filtering, so keep working on that as well. Rightio, so back from getting the injectors cleaned. So shout out to Josh at Josh's Diesel Services. He gave those a quick clean for us yesterday afternoon. Well, it wasn't a quick clean, we put them on the tester machine, and 2 of them were a lot lower output at sort of idle speeds, and then when you run it up at say 6,000 RPM, they were a lot closer, they were almost the same. So we put them in the ultrasonic cleaner, we cleaned all of them and got a bit of performance back, and then we back flushed them, and we did a few things on these injector machine there, and yeah, so we ended up getting them almost the same at idle speed. So all definitely the same at the higher outputs, and at idle speed, which is where we thought this could be the fouling issue, is only at 800, 900 RPM. The other thing is the fuel path. I think I've got all the bits and pieces. It won't be pretty. I've just got some adapters and whatever that I can make this rail recirculating rail. So we've got pump coming in here, goes to the reg, gets regulated, and then out into the rail, which spins around, comes around here, and there's like, so number 2 cylinder here gets the lowest amount of pressure, this whole bank gets the lowest pressure. So what we'll hopefully do is redivert this feed, so the fuel high pressure comes in here. I put a 6AN nipple on into that rail there, and we'll just put that on like that, and then fuel will come in here, feed the rail, go around to passenger rail, come out of there into the regulator where the fuel pressure sensor is. So that'll be full rail pressure, and then that'll get regulated back to the tank. So then I'll have to just put a cap on the edge here. That's the theory. Alright, so I've got the injectors back in. That's the fuel flow coming in. So it's coming in, going down there, over there, up there, and around there. It's regulated, and I just got a cap on the reg there. So I'm just going to start it, see if there's any leaks. That's a bit strange. I would have thought there was enough fuel pressure there. Oh, there's the fuel pressure. 27 psi, or maybe that's why. I think I remember why. Oh, I've left a plug out, possibly more. No, just one plug. Alright, let me put that back in, or try again. That is really weird. Alright, that was strange because that was running really bad then. What have I left off? Vacuum lines are on. I'm just feeling these headers, and this whole side is cold for some reason. I wonder why. Oh, that's probably got something to do with it. What do you reckon? Leave your comments below. Do you think 4 coils not working would have anything to do with it running rough? Like and subscribe. All the gear and no idea. Righto, so we just come back from a couple of drives. The first one was terrible. It was worse than before. So the only other thing I could think of was leads. It would seem really weird that there'd be 4 leads that would all go at the same time and have similar fouling issues. But I put just some old standard sort of factory LS1 leads back on that I had spare on the front 4, and went for a drive and it was all fixed. So it's hard to say whether it was the new plugs that I put in that weren't previously fouled, or the new leads. Well, not new leads, but working leads. So possibly it was a lead issue, although it was sort of inconsistent. When I pulled the plug out after putting the new leads on, it was still black, so it's still like plugs are still running really rich. So anyway, for now it's running, pulling really hard. I've still got the street radials on from the drags the other night, so testing was a lot more productive, I guess you could say, with actual data rather than wheel spin. So I'm just going to order some new bits and pieces, new plugs, new leads. Yeah, hopefully throw all that in and then not have this problem repeat itself for a while. So